For coverage on your favorite sports, favorite teams, and breaking news, this is Total Sports Radio.
Hey everybody, and what's going on? Welcome back to Total Sports Radio. This is actually the first video on the channel, and I thought this would be the best way to start it, and that would be a NFL season predictions. So this is the NFC predictions. We'll do the NFC, then the AFC, and then we'll do playoff predictions from that point. I'll kind of get a little bit into it more about what's going on during it. So like I'm gonna have, of course, what I think their general record's going to be, and I might give them a floor or a ceiling type record afterwards as well. But yeah, so let's get into it. First, the NFC North. Now, of course, I'm not going to show the records right away, but the way they are placed is correct. I do. Well, you know what? Let's start with the Lions first. The Lions had a pretty good draft, I'd say, but a new head coach. They have a whole new coaching staff, so it's kind of like it's a new season for them, and a new whole regime, everything. They got Jared Goff. I don't see too much for this team this season. Now, I think the best bet for them is to hold out, maybe even draft a quarterback next year in the draft. And I do see them currently going 3-14. Not the best record. I do think they have a pretty good 5-12, maybe 6-11 ceiling. Their schedule, just the NFC North schedule in general this year isn't the easiest, and especially for this team. Um, so let's move on to the Vikings. Of course, you still got Cousins as the quarterback. Just not. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Vikings follower, but I can tell you this. I don't think they really lost too much, and gained too much in a way. They lost some, but I feel like they replenished well enough back for them to be in a pretty good spot this year. I think that it's just a rough division, right? You got the Bears, who are still pretty good. They got their quarterback now, and Dalton will probably start the first couple of games. But we'll get back on the Bears in a bit here after the Vikings. I still do like the Vikings offense. The Vikings defense is, you lost a couple pieces there as well. I see them as a mediocre team, and I have them placed at 7-10 this season. I think that's a pretty good point for them. I do think they need to look for a quarterback here pretty soon. Cousins isn't, what you want, but you still have Dalvin Cook. And Cook, man, he's one hell of a running back. And I just think this team is their ceiling is playoffs, right? I think they can make the playoffs. I think they could flip flop with the Bears, and we'll get on to the Bears now. Um, the Bears, you got Justin Fields. You had a really good. I think you had a really good fucking draft. This is one of their best drafts they've had in a very long time. Your defense is still stellar. Your offense is, pretty good. You still have your running back situation that you need to figure out and find an identity on your offense, I think. So this would be the year to see what their offense can do. I kind of put them more towards the higher sides of their ceiling. I put them at their ceiling, to be honest with you. I think that this team could hit their ceiling, and that ceiling is 11-6. Now, like I said, this team could flip flop with the Vikings, and I think the Vikings floor is around the 6-11 to 7-10. I put the Bears at their ceiling, which is 11-6 to me. I think this team, maybe 12-5, right? That's max. But I do have this team around 11-6 and making the playoffs. I do like their defense, and I love Khalil Mack out there. You have a whole bunch of good pieces on that defense and the offensive side of the ball. Your offensive line is kind of a little bit better now. And I just like the spot from 11-6 right in the playoffs. And now we look at the Green Bay Packers. You got your quarterback. You got your quarterback back. He's alive. He's there. He's not leaving. Maybe next season he will. Um, I think this team basically stayed together for the most part. You didn't lose too much. Once again, you didn't gain too much. But I do think this is one of the biggest threats in the NFC. Of course, you still got the Rams and all the Buccaneers and all that stuff to deal with as well. But this is, of course, a playoff team. This team goes 13-4 for me. Um, Maybe their ceiling could be 14-3, but I think that's a little too high for them. It's still got a rough schedule. Still put the Chiefs. I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do. And I think this is a good spot for them. 13-4. I think maybe their floor is 11-6 as well. But I don't see a world where Green Bay doesn't win this division. Green Bay has this division almost in a lock for me this year. The Bears are the only team that maybe in the Vikings that can contest Green Bay this season. So that will be it for the NFC North. And now we'll move on to the NFC West. All right, I got the NFC West. The NFC West is probably the most stacked division in the NFL. Once again, I think last year proved it as well, and now they got it again. We'll start towards the bottom side once again with the Arizona Cardinals. This team, you got DeAndre Hopkins still. You still have Kyler Murray, beautiful piece. This defense is still pretty good. Offense is still well. And dude, and for having, or I shouldn't say dude, and for people, um, who are watching. This is once again the best team in like the best division in the league. So, of course, the worst team is still gonna have a nice record of 10-7. Um, Sadly, outside the playoffs. Um, but this team, man, they're gonna be right in the thick of things. I can easy, as you're gonna see with the next team, Seattle. This is gonna be a team to flip flop. They could flip flop this. I think their ceiling is easily 12-5. I think that's their ceiling, and that's a good record for them. Their floor is probably around 8-9, right? Maybe a little lower than that, but I doubt it. I think 10-7 is a good spot for them. Of course, you're gonna be disappointed as a Cardinals fan with this being on the bottom here, but you gotta kind of expect it, especially the division you're in. I like this team. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's going to keep progressing, and I think he's got an awesome receiving core, good running back, and we'll move on now to the Seattle Seahawks, which the Seattle Seahawks are an interesting team, right? Their defense last season sucked. I think for the most part they were a terrible defense. You lose Shaquille Griffin, your best corner, yeah, which does that. That's a big hit for your defense there, right? But you got a couple pieces back. And your draft was pretty good. Uh, Now I think they also will go 10-7, right? But I think they do have the division lead in my opinion. I think they do beat out the Cardinals. I think I have them beating them once at home, and then the Cardinals. But I think I have Seattle slipping a win against the Niners, and then one against the Rams or something like that. So the Cardinals, you miss out. But once again, this could easily flip, and I think if this does flip, that's a playoff spot for you. So don't be too discouraged. I like Seattle here, 10-7 as well. I think their ceiling is also the 12-5. But we'll move on now to the 49ers. You got your team back. Your team is healthy finally. Kittle's there. You got Garoppolo. Maybe Garoppolo gets switched out with Trey Lance. So I think that's the biggest thing about this team, the quarterback situation. What happens, right? Does Garoppolo start sticking it up, or do you just put Trey Lance in regardless? Later on in the season. So this team could easily fall, and this team could easily rise above the Los Angeles Rams here. And I have them going 13-4. I think their floor is probably 9-8. So if they hit that floor, they're pretty screwed, and I think they're right around their ceiling. Um, so this is just my predictions. Again, everything is not 100%, of course. Everyone knows that watching these videos like this. Um, I do like San Francisco, though. I think they're a great team. Uh, and they are in once again the best division, and it's kind of it's good for Trey Lance, I think, being in a division like this, right? If he's playing this season, he's playing against really good teams, and that's good for him, of course, to progress as a quarterback. So it's gonna be really cool to see Trey Lance or Garoppolo. What happens? Who knows? Be a development throughout the season. Now we move on to the Los Angeles Rams, who also go 13-4. Um, just of course the division. This looks really weird, right? 13-4, 13-4, 10-7, 10-7. I think this is right around their ceiling. You got Matt Stafford, of course. Your defense is still probably top three defense in the league, right? With Ramsey out there and Aaron Donald out there. You finally got a first round pick next season, so that's good. That's good. Finally good to look at. So I think this team's ceiling is probably 14-3. 15-2 is whoa if you're thinking about that. Uh, so Rams on top division. I think the Rams do win this division regardless. I don't see a world where the Rams aren't on the top. Um, but who knows? This is going to be a weird season, especially in this division with all these teams being so well. And we're going to move on to the NFC South now. All right, the NFC South. What a division this is in the worst of ways. See, Carolina, you got a quarterback, Sam Darnold, down there, right? So is he the starter? I'm pretty sure he is. Not 100%. I can check that real quick. But while I'm checking that, let me just talk about this team in general. I do like this team. I think this team has the a big upside for a lot of upsets this season. I I think I put them pretty low on their their record this season, but I don't think they will get too far. I don't think this is a playoff team. I think this team will probably be right around outside the playoffs at their best. Um, and I have them going 5-12. Um, I don't think that's terrible for them. Uh, I don't know. Sam Darnold being your starting quarterback, it's going to be really weird to see how he plays, right? It's going to be fun to watch seeing him coming away from the Jets, going to a team with a couple of good receivers. And I think this team's ceiling is probably 8-9, 9-8, and their floor is 2-15. This team could be terrible. This team could be really good. I think 5-12 is a pretty good record for them. Even though it looks really low, as long as you see a lot of progression out of Sam Darnold and the rest of the team, and just kind of meshing together this season, that would be good for them. We'll move on to the Falcons now with a great draft getting Kyle Pitts. Holy crap, that man's a legend. This is really Matt Ryan's not his farewell tour yet. I think he's got a couple more years before he really goes and moves on. But this is where you start building this team now, and you're on the right step, right? You're on the right track. You're 8-9 now. I think this team is not a playoff team yet. They're right outside it, just like Carolina, and I don't think that Falcons can make the playoffs. I mean, with the NFC being so good as it is, just you, I know it's weird to say, but there's a lot of top teams like that whole NFC West, all top teams. Uh, then you got the three teams in the NFC North who can contend, and then the NFC East, which is kind of a clusterfuck. And now this division is starting to kind of pick up a bit. In a in a way, it's really developmental though at this point now. Because you got the Saints who lost Breeze and lost a lot of pieces. You got Falcons who are still trying to scramble back from their Super Bowl loss. I still feel like they're kind of in that hangover state somehow still. 8-9, not a bad record. I think their best is 10-7. Lowest is probably around the 5-12 range. But we'll move on to the Saints now. Saints, who I have at 8-9 outside the playoffs. New Orleans, you're a interesting team, right? You have Jameis Winston as your quarterback. Uh, you still, I don't know how this team's gonna play. Is Jameis Winston gonna play like he did on the Buccaneers, or is this gonna be a new Jameis Winston that we're gonna see take control of a team, make a playoff push, and fight back against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but without even with Breeze. You know, they played really good against Tampa with Breeze, right? But when it came to playoff time and when it came to just in the clutch moments, this team fell apart. And now losing all these pieces that you lost, do you even have a chance to get to the clutch moments to be able to clutch, right? So I don't see this team getting there. I don't see this team being a playoff team. Maybe right outside, just like Tampa, just like Atlanta. My bad. Not too much else to say. Taysom Hill is a great player. He's your gadget player. No longer even have a chance to be quarterback. Maybe if James wants to start stinking it up, that's when you start bringing the Taysom Hill back in. But on to the Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have a really good chance at repeating, bringing everybody back. I mean, their whole entire team is back. Basic, their entire team is pretty sure they lost a couple players here and there, but this is the best team in the NFL. Maybe you can say the Chiefs are, of course, who also were in the Super Bowl last year, and we'll get to them. You know what? Screw that. We'll give it the Chiefs later, in the next video. But Tampa Bay, man, have this team. I mean, what do you say about them? You know, they won the Super Bowl. Nothing's really changed. Why would this record change, right? I mean, besides if you think Tom Brady's gonna fall off, which we say that every year, and this man does not fall off. So I like Tampa Bay 15-2. I think this is their ceiling. I think their floor is probably around 11-6. But I think that's even way too low for them. So we'll move on to the NFC East here for our final part. All right, now we go on to the NFC East. This division is the clusterfuck of the world, of the NFL. The, we mean Washington is really the only exceptional answer for this, right? Uh, We're I'm just gonna speedrun to this division because there's not too much to talk about, and you can look at this and understand why, right? The Eagles, I just don't like this team. The Eagles have nothing that they have nothing to offer to me. I don't see any bright points of this team. Jalen Hurts is gonna be interesting to watch. I think he's gonna be a player to look out for to see how he actually does this season. Now they got Minshew as their backup. Does he somehow start? If Jalen Hurts starts blowing it. The Giants, Daniel Jones is his prove it or leave year in a way, and if the Giants don't, if Daniel Jones doesn't hit this season, they're looking for a quarterback. I think. Eagles, going back to the Eagles again, I think this team's ceiling is what would that be, 5-12, and the Giants' ceiling is 5-12 as well, or 6-11. I don't know. I really don't enjoy this division. I think this division is terrible. We'll go on to the teams that actually have some type of playoff contention. I'm sorry to the Giants and Eagles fans. Don't think I'm shitting on you. I'm not shitting on you. I'm just shitting on your team's ability to be able to build a team, right? So I'm sorry to any of those fans. You guys can shit talk me in the comments and tell me I'm wrong. But do you see a world where they actually do beat out the Cowboys in Washington? Give me a reason and why. The Cowboys 8-9. I think this is an easily flippable top two teams here. Uh, I I think the Cowboys. You have Zeke at Dak. Is Dak the same? Is Dak the same? It, Zeke has been quiet down now. Zeke is a new player, in my opinion. We'll see how he does. I just don't like Mike McCarthy as a head coach. I don't think he's a trustable head coach. Um, the defense isn't also the greatest. The offensive line is still good. You still have a good offensive line. It's just that can Zeke carry this team? That's really what it is. We'll move on to Washington. Definitely my favorite in the division here. This defense is still dominant. It's going to continue to be dominant. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick. And now it really depends on how he plays too. Is Fitzmagic going to be Fitzmagic throughout the entire season, or is he just going to fall apart? So I think it really banks on the quarterback here. This man has been around to so many teams now; it's not even funny. I think this defense just carries this team to a playoff spot, and they almost beat Tampa Bay in the wild card last year. So I think this team did get better from there. So I think we're looking at a really good Washington football team who can make a splash impact in a playoffs. So that will be it. That is it for our predictions, and I hope you guys do enjoy. The AFC video will come out sometime, maybe next week, um, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? It's gonna be sometime. I don't know yet. I just gotta make sure I have time to plan it and record it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me you guys' predictions. Tell me how wrong I am. Tell me how right I am. Just let me know how I did. Let me know what you guys think. Give me your predictions down below, and look forward to seeing you guys for the AFC.